Hello, Carolina. How you doing? All right. Towel for the dog toy. I think all of us dog owners, I think at one point or another, have done this. My dogs love to play with towels, and honestly, I right in their toy box, I got three dogs, one huge and two little tiny ones, and their toys they all keep together in the same toy box, and there's actually three different towels in there, and they quite often select the towel to play with. So, great idea. Okay, good setup. You know what I wanted to mention, Carolina? It's a really good idea to include your PDF. And the reason is because so we can kind of scroll in and zoom in, zoom out. And so I can fit it in the screen without having to do much scrolling. So hopefully you don't get dizzy because I'm going to be doing some scrolling here up and down. So forgive me for that. But if you think about it next time, just post a PDF right here in addition to posting the image in line with the body copy. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look. I think you've done a good job. I think this indicates all of the characteristics and components of effective linear narrative. So we've got, you've introduced the characters and the setting. And then we kind of go straight to introducing the problem. So I think okay, to continue on that thought, so you got the problem or the conflict, then you have the potential solutions, then the aha, eureka moment, implementation of the solution, execution of the solution, and the final outcome. So you've got all of the components needed for a successful linear narrative, right? Now, one thing I want to mention is this. I'm going to go through the actual narrative itself, and there's just a couple of areas I think so that might provide a little more clarity. And don't get me wrong, I think the narrative is very, very clear. The problem I'm seeing, though, is the fact that, okay, the dog is chewing on the toy. I'm sorry, the dog is chewing on the shoe and ruining the shoe, right? So then we go to the 99-cent store. But I think the initial problem is the fact that the dog doesn't have a toy to play with from the start. So is there a way that we can show that the dog has lost its toy and resorted to chewing on the shoe? Do you see what I'm saying? So I think the initial problem isn't the chewed up shoe. I think the initial problem is the fact that the dog doesn't have a toy, therefore went and chewed the shoe. Okay, then it makes sense. Then we go, so the first frame, or somehow the first two frames or whatever, the dog doesn't have a toy. I don't know if he throws it over the fence or if whatever the situation is, somehow the dog toy gets lost or popped or whatever the situation is. So the dog goes after the shoe, destroys the shoe, and then this guy is, oh, by the way, great depiction of the character. This is great that you're showing different perspectives and different angles of the character, because that adds visual interest. And I think that provides a very high degree of engagement for the viewer. So I love seeing that. Just make sure his hair is the same and his clothes are the same, so we know that that's the same guy. Okay, so anyways, the shoe goes to the 99-cent store, finds the dog bone. That's great. Now, one thing I want you to keep in mind: the assignment doesn't allow any text at all. So you have to communicate store without actually saying store. I don't think it's going to be possible to indicate a 99-cent store without saying 99 cents. Do you just see what I'm saying? So maybe you could just have a pet store indicated maybe by a little dog and a cat sign or something. I'm not sure how you're going to do that. But don't forget, no text is allowed. Well, anyways, goes to the store, he buys the bone, takes it home to the bone. Love that angle again. That's fantastic. And you're showing different perspectives of the dog too. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different perspectives of the dog. That's fantastic. Nice job. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, at least 4 different perspectives of the main character. So again, fantastic. Okay. Okay. So he buys the bone, takes the bone to his dog. They play with the bone, the 99-cent bone. It breaks. So we're confronted with yet another problem. Now, maybe we should start with this, with the fact that he has a bone. Think about it, because the bone breaks. Okay, then he has to get a new bone and move on to the solution. Do you see what I'm saying? So somehow we need to consolidate these. So think about that, and if you have any questions at all, let me know, and I'll give you some suggestions. But I hope my reasoning makes sense. And again, let me know, because it's very important to me that it makes sense. Because I think that it's going to help the way that the story is received from the viewer. So anyways, broken bone. Okay, now what? Oh, wait a second. I got an idea. Goes into the laundry room, grabs a towel. I think it ends really abruptly. I think it ends super abruptly. I think that maybe one more step or something in between here. So I don't know. I don't know. Think about it. I think about it. So I think it's just right now. It's just a matter of compensation. I shouldn't say it. It's a matter of composing the frames in an order that makes the most sense. Okay, that might entail adding frames, deleting frames, combining frames, um, or possibly a whole new set of frames. But the great news is it's a fantastic start. You're definitely getting it. You get the idea. You get the effective components of linear narrative, and that's fantastic. Now let's talk about the actual presentation itself. So I have a feeling that these arrows and numbers are here just to assist us through the narrative. But in the final narrative, you've got two things to think about. Once you've really established how you're going to tell the story, we've got the illustrative style. Then we also have how are we going to present the frames? Are they going to be in circles? Circles work. Any shape will work as long as there's seemingly some sort of a connection. And I kind of alluded to that a little bit on Paris's post. If you want to refer to that, she used her concept was a broken basketball hoop and using a laundry basket to put on the backboard to make the basketball hoop. But her frames were octagons or hexagons. So my question to her was, is there a relationship between the shape of the frames and the concept? And she stated, no, there's not. So she has to rethink that. Point I'm trying to make is, if you can, try to make a relationship between the shapes of the frames and the concept. And if there is no seeming relationship, something like circles, or you could even, another great technique is not to put them in frames. This doesn't have frames, but it has this cool technique of these shapes behind, right? So think about that. And then finally, we have to think about a way to connect the different frames of the narrative in an interesting way. Right now, I think the circles are really large in comparison to the picture plane itself. That's the size of the page. So there's not a whole lot of negative space. Negative space is the space surrounding the circles. So there's not a whole lot of negative space around the circles. So there's not a whole lot of room to fit something like these connecting, he's using, this designer's using these little hairs from that guy's red beard to connect these so the viewer can follow. This one's using the path of the hornet to follow. Okay, so instead of using the numbers and the arrows, try to think of a way to connect the frames in a way that makes sense. I think a really great idea would be to use little dog paws to connect the frames. But it could be dog bones, it could be dog paws, it could be anything you want. So I think dog paws would be cute. But think about it and think about those considerations. If there's anything I've said in the last 8 minutes. Sorry, I didn't mean to take that long. If there's anything I've said in the last 8 minutes that doesn't make sense, please get with me. I think it's really, really important that we keep in contact through the process here. So any questions, comments, concerns, or if you need any clarifications, please let me know and I'll be glad to provide as such. All right, fantastic start, Caroline. Thank you so much for sharing.